Oh, it was 333. I was just having a witchy
Oh.
moment.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, I love that. This is I mean, it's recording, so
Okay,
this is
we
our
started right
intro.
at 333, you guys. It's a great sign.
And then I stopped. It seemed important, so I was like, "What is it?" This is the intro of our dreams. Okay. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but sex education of the past failed us. Because birds and bees, they don't fuck. Welcome to Birds and Bees Don't Fuck, a podcast where we learn exactly how bad our formative sex education, or lack thereof, really was. I'm your host, Arielle Zadok. I'm a sex educator, intimacy coordinator, and a whole lot of other things. My guest today is a writer, comedian, host of Comedy Go-Go, a play party manager, and the OnlyFans girl of your dreams. Welcome to the show, Samantha Jane.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. Oh my goodness. So we're for sure going to go into the play party thing because I know listeners are like, I'm sorry, what? Is the fuck a play party?
It's a party where you play.
Play. And we love to play. So we have such a lovely connection of cross-section between sex and comedy.
We have overlap in both.
We do.
worlds.
And it's so much fun because we met at a comedy poll show that Christina Kalf and Dan Black do.
Wonderful show.
It's such a good show. I was performing in it, and I think it was maybe my first performance there, or maybe it was the second one. Do you remember if it was like a year ago or was the October show?
I don't remember. It was probably one of the early ones.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to make a lot recently.
Yeah. So that would have been like a year ago from the time of recording, which is so fun because that means I've known you for a year now.
Oh my God,
wow.
we did it.
Oh my God, we did.
A whole moon
Happy 1 year
cycle.
anniversary.
Happy 1 year.
Oh my God, I love you.
I love you too.
So we met at a show. I was pole dancing. It's pole dancing. It's stand up. It's such a great show. And now later in our budding relationship, we work play parties together. And you brought me into that. So thank you so much for that.
You're so welcome. Yeah, I sort of fell into this with Lovely Fate, who's just a wonderful organization. I'm so glad that I got connected to them through my friend Daniel, who's the DJ.
Oh.
So I met him a couple years ago. We went out, but just became friends. You know, we just get that vibe.
As you do.
Yeah. I think my mom had just died and we went on a date and literally I was like, hey, I'm having a weird night. My mom's ashes are lost in the mail. Let's get fucked up.
And he was so nice to meet you.
Really great friend. You know, we're still friends. And I went to one party with someone I was dating at the time and it was really fun. Did not like that person, but I did enjoy the party. And then like a year later, I ran into someone. I was like working a bachelor party where they were like comedy adjacent guys looking for like fun, cute girls, like not actual strippers or anything. I was like, I can do this. This is a weird kind of job up my alley. I was like, I'll guarantee. And I did know some of the comedians at the party. They're like, wait, are you one of the girls? Or are you here?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm confused.
Yeah. I was like, I'm everything, baby.
Yeah.
But one of the other girls was like, have you ever been to a Lovely Fate party? I was like, yeah, one. Like, I'm so surprised you remember me. Like, it's full of just like very attractive naked people.
Yeah.
And it just like made me think about it. And I looked them up and they were doing training at the time for place-based monitors. So I signed up. And it's great. It's like such a great cross section. I feel like you have this too, of like a balance of all of my really like nerdy parts and like being responsible and like wanting to make sure everything's going on and like checking on everyone and making sure, you know, everything's running well. And then also like, yeah, let's party and have fun. Like be chill. And like, because you can't have someone who's like a downer at the party, you know?
No, it is an open, free-flowing, very consensual space.
Yes.
Yeah, and we do share that nerdy love of safety and fun.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
it's a balance.
Yeah, it is a balance. And I think this is going to sound so weird. I think safety gets a bad name.
It does.
It does. But, you know, and I say this a lot having just spent 3 years working in COVID and running COVID and being an intimacy coordinator as well. It's like we have this idea that when it comes to safety and boundaries and like the fence, for lack of a better term, that people are like, it's stifling, and like, I can't be expressive and I can't be full and you're holding me back. But actually, studies have shown over and over again that when children, for example, are given a fence, they go all the way to the edges of those fences. So they will explore, they will play, they will be expansive. They go far and wide, they separate from each other, they come back, they use all of that space. But when there is nothing there, human psychology makes us small. So we're going to stay in a smaller space. So when it comes to play, or it comes to intimacy coordinating, or it comes to COVID safety and performing and, having to be in the height of it, the performer that's not wearing a mask, for example, when we know subconsciously that the safety measures are there, it allows us to expand ourselves in much, much bigger ways and play creatively and not be afraid.
Are helpful.
Yeah.
And like, we feel like safety has a bad rap because it's like, you got to wear a helmet or do all these things that are oppressive. I don't want to wear a mask. But feeling safe is something we all want.
Mm-hmm.
And when you know that those things have been done, it helps you feel safe. Like, you cannot control everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, nothing is foolproof. And I think that's when safety can go rise, when people feel like they have to create a 100% situation when you don't know anything's going to happen, which is impossible.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
But if you are taking certain measures just to know that things are, spoken to and looked at and double checked, then you can relax more because you're not worrying about it or wondering if it's going to happen or waiting for the shoe to drop. That's one thing I found about the parties that's great. We do have like a long list of like rules and consent things, and it goes down to like, I like this, and I've taken this into my dating life too.
Yeah.
The consent is down to, don't be pushy.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask someone to do something and they say no, don't ask them a second time.
No,
wearing someone down is not an actual good romantic strategy.
No, nor is it consent. Wearing someone down is not coercion. Consent. Yeah, it's coercion.
So just like looking at all that and having those rules up front, it helps everyone, I think, relax. Mm-hmm. Because if you know that the people there have your back, if someone's making you uncomfortable, you can come to us and we'll be like, that's a problem. Like, they can't do that. We have your back. It lets you relax around people a little more. You don't have to have your guard up with everyone and be so like, because I think as women too, we're often taught like, whatever happens to me is my fault.
Yeah.
So I got to be the one to have the defenses up.
Yeah. And also that men are dangerous. Yeah. We're taught, and which like a lot of them are, but most of them are not. Yeah. So, it is that mixed messaging of like, men are dangerous, but it's your fault.
Right. But you egged them on.
It's what?
Well, I was watching a documentary once about like plastic surgery, but it was actually weirdly positive. But there was this model who had acid thrown on her face.
Oh my God.
And she said this phrase, I was like, ooh, I just felt it. She's like, I just learned that being beautiful was dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's like the mixed messaging too. It's like, be beautiful, be sexy, be a hot slut, but then don't, because then when you're hurt or raped or whatever, it's your fault. Because why were you wearing that? Yeah. Why were you acting like that?
Why was your
were
makeup
you out
like
there
that?
Being hot if you didn't want to be treated like a thing?
Why did you look so hot if you didn't want to get fucked by someone who you didn't want to fuck? Like,
being beautiful is dangerous.
Yeah, being beautiful is dangerous. It's true. And that is such a powerful, powerful message, truly. And unfortunately, it's a valid message because we've seen it happen over and over. Is it a true message? To a degree, depending on which predator you're around.
Right. I mean, depending on the right person, anything can be dangerous.
Exactly.
If that's what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's not the beauty that's dangerous. It's that person. And that's what we're trying to flip. That's what we're trying to get to. And there are plenty of organizations that are doing the work, but like, that's the conversation that we need to have. It's not your short skirt. It's not, I mean, this, I feel like we've been saying this forever, and we hope we will say this forever, unfortunately. But it's not anything that you as the individual who is being made victim in any way, shape, or form, or being coerced or whatever, it's not you. It's nothing that you did. It's the other person who's a fucking monster.
And it sucks. I think that's, a thing a lot of women internalize too, even subconsciously, and, feel competitive with each other or something, and, don't have that support there either.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's interesting because I started as a fat kid with like horrible acne. I was on Accutane. I was super tall, really, really early. I had big hips and a big ass in the Kate Moss era.
Oh boy, the Kate Moss era.
Pre-Kardashian.
Woof.
So it was
I
like
feel that.
heroin chic. And I was like out here with like big old badunk. And, you know, I was not a cute girl for most of like puberty, like the really like sensitive times. And I was like awkward nerd, you know, only child, very, very, you know, just weird socially. So I experienced being both. And I always wanted to be pretty and I always wanted to be pretty. And I say this to my friend too, I'm like, if you see a hot girl, she put work in.
Yeah.
You do not, it does not just happen unless you are like just one of those teenagers, but then you'll have to work for it later. Like, especially when you see a hot girl in their 30s and 40s, they fucking put that work in.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't
For
just
sure.
happen. Even if the work is just like drinking water and moisturizing and paying attention. And, you know, it takes attention and care.
Yeah, exactly. Presence.
But like, I didn't realize, you know, the whole narrative is like, oh, if you're pretty, people like you and they do things for you. But it's not true. People will resent you. Women got weird to me. Men act like they're going to do things for you, but they don't. It's like you get, you know, the casting couch thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you have the men of power being like, oh, come over. And you think you're going to get a role or something. You never do. You get tossed aside immediately.
Yeah.
You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like I went through a lot in comedy when I was younger, and it was like, it feels like they use your ambition to entrap you because you, you know, the powerful guy who any male comedian would also be like, oh, you want to have a drink, talk shop? Of course. You're like the person I'm trying to impress. I'd like to get on your show, whatever. Hopefully you think I'm funny. And you get there as a girl and they're like, then they make that sex move and you're like, it's your fault. Why did you come here?
Yeah. What did you think was going to happen?
What did you think was going to happen? Oh, silly me. I thought maybe you actually thought I was funny and respected me as a performer. But now I'm in this situation too where it's like, okay, if I still want this person to like me, what do I do?
Yeah.
Turn them down and be a bitch or go through with it anyway and maybe they'll like me, which they don't.
Yeah.
They don't respect you. They throw you away. You feel awful afterwards.
Yeah.
It just, the casting couch is a total lie.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Well, and what that just made me think of also is when you are a woman that presents in a sexy way and you're working in a male-dominated industry, you can't possibly be taken seriously by men or women. And that's something that I struggled with coming up in production and coming up as a producer and a first AD and a woman in a position of power was like, oh, I can't look hot in any way.
Yeah, I got noted for wearing skirts. I had a teacher, and not even one of the bad ones. Like he was just like, I can't buy your characters when you play men or whatever and you're wearing a skirt. Which is crazy because there were so many like dudes in cargo shorts playing women.
Yeah.
And it was believable or whatever. Like I'm not wearing a short skirt. You couldn't see my underwear or anything. For me, it was more comfortable to wear a long skirt than jeans that would probably show my ass crack.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that was more comfortable. And I felt like I could move more actually. But because of the way I was seen as too girly, you know, it was all the girls that just like boys. And I heard Whitney Cummings say this. She's like, you know, as a woman, you have to come out, especially if you're pretty, and like castrate yourself immediately. Make yourself like not a sexual object and a dude. And that's why a lot of women are like farts and whatever, because you have to get over like being seen as like hot girl because they're not going to take you seriously.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, I do think that even women do that too, where they see a really hot, beautiful woman and you're a threat.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. It's the what is the word I'm looking for? The focus that we place on how people look and how we treat them based off of how they choose to present in the world. And this does transfer to trans folks as well. That's just how people are. This is how I am. This is what I do. This is how I dress. This is how I do my hair. This is how I do my makeup. What the fuck do you want from me? And then we are treating them in certain ways because of that and judging their worth, their value, their knowledge, their skill set based off of how we choose to present ourselves as human and what we think is aesthetically pleasing for the body that we are, the meat suit that we're in, how we decide to dress this meat suit.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we can or can't do certain things, or we are or are not in a certain intelligence level. Like, go fuck yourself. But like not in a good way.
It's like a like, I get it, because when I was younger and I was like, oh, I hate all these pretty skinny girls. They just
Mm-hmm.
don't understand. And it was like, it took a lot of growing up in therapy to realize I don't hate them. I hate the world that told me I'm not valuable because I don't look like that.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the way it makes me feel about myself, but you don't need to be comparing yourself to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it should be that you are good enough standing on your own. Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And women also had that like model minority thing, where it's like, well, she can do it all. You know, you could be Elle Woods, you could be smart, but you have to be hot too. You can't not be hot as a woman. No matter how powerful you are or whatever, like the pressure to need to look that way is unreasonable and ridiculous, because men don't have that.
No.
It's cool if a man is hot. It's also cool if he's not.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he's really smart.
No one cares.
You can be valuable for a million different reasons. It doesn't make you more or less worthy.
Preach.
But also, it's like cool that we're hot.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm into it. But, you know, it is. So when I was younger, I was a lot darker than I am now. And I fucking hated my skin. I hated being so dark. I hated having a weird name.
I hated being pale.
Yeah. All of those things. And it's because of what the norm was around me and what the messaging was from media and what the cool girls looked like at school. And I mean, that, you know, that
I had to embrace being hot as me. Like, people like my hair now. It took me years. I would brush out my curls in Florida. I wanted straight hair. I wanted blonde hair. I wanted all the hair I didn't have.
Yeah.
And it took me so long to just go, okay, what if I just like work with the hair that I do have?
Yeah.
And like find a cut and a style that just works for it, and I'm not fighting it. And that helped. Like, what if I work with my skin and I do less to try and change it? Like, it got better when I stopped trying. Like, not a lot of people know this, but as a makeup artist, acne products usually create more acne. It's very bad for you. Like, you can use a little drying thing on a single pimple, but if you're doing like OxyClean, you know, all of those salicylic acid stuff, it is way too strong. It strips your skin. It ruins your moisture barrier. So then your skin starts making more oil to replace the oil that you lost, because oil helps keep bacteria out of your pores. So if you remove all the oil and moisture from your skin, that bacteria can go right into your pores and you're more likely to break out. Plus your skin starts creating more oil. So you get stuck in this horrible cycle.
What a shit show. That was my teenage years.
Try and stay away from that stuff. It's way too strong unless you like are having a breakout and you're treating an actual pimple, but don't use it every day. But I had to like learn to work with my skin. I always thought my boobs were too small growing up.
Same.
I wanted to look like Pam Anderson. My butt was too big. My hips were too big. My boobs were too small. The world kind of came around to me, luckily. But I had to embrace that too, because I still look at myself and see, you know, all the dysmorphic thoughts I had my whole life. Oh, I hate my thighs. I grew up in Florida. I never wore shorts ever. Yeah. Because I hated my thighs. So much crotch sweat. Yeah. So unreasonable.
I get it. I now I don't wear shorts just because I don't really like them that much. They're like, I would rather be in a skirt. It's just more comfortable. But I agree. I would never wear shorts, because where can I even cut these things off with the thighs that I have? Like, if I cut them, if they're too short, then it just goes right up this big old booty. And if they're too long, then they look real weird. And if they're in the middle, then it's just like I get the muffin on either side. And we're taught that muffins of all sorts are bad unless they're going in your mouth, which is yummy. But then, like, don't eat too many. So there are so many mixed messages that we get. And one thing,
you want to get chub rub.
Oh my God. And one thing my mom used to, well, she still says, when it comes to like clothing, she would never say like something looks like shit or whatever, but she would just say that does nothing for you. And I love that perspective. And I think it really ties into what you're saying here also, because it's like the things that we're doing to ourselves should be used to work for us. And if it's not working for you, and if the thing that you're doing, if like straightening your hair is not that's not working for you because it's killing your hair. So that's not going to work for you.
I mean, or if you're the kind of person that likes that.
Sure.
If you like that process, if it's like a thing that brings you joy, that's fine. For me, it didn't. I hated doing it too.
Exactly. Exactly.
And like, I did costume design too when I was younger. And that was an interesting journey, because I went through all of these phases of trying to like wear preppy stuff or whatever. I went through my Jenkos phase, which I love, bringing back the ball chains.
Oh yeah, I know. I love that. I love it.
And like, I never looked good in preppy stuff. I hate khakis so much. I hate anything with a pleated pant. Oh my God, it's the worst. It's just fupa pants there's men walking around with fupas and dockers all over town. but I just, tried to do all of these things that I thought I should do or whatever. I wore a push-up bra for 10
Oh my
years,
God, me too.
you
And my little
know,
boobs did not even fit in that little push-up bra, let me tell you.
and now it's like, oh, I don't have to wear a bra. That's like a thing. And it's like cool and sexy. And I don't have to like pretend I have boobs. And just like embracing also, but wearing clothes that worked for my body.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll wear things that work with the small boob and that I can go down the side,
Yeah.
or that fit. I have a small waist. So I was like, oh, my go-to, even when I'm feeling bloated, if I do like a high waist skirt and a little crop top and I show off just the skinniest part of my waist, I feel like it's working and I can cover my bloated tummy and not feel weird about it and like not feel self-conscious about it. Yeah, just like dressing for what's both comfortable and sexy. Because if you're comfortable, you're more sexy.
And that's what I take when it's like, it doesn't do anything for you or whatever.
Yeah.
So, when I hear like it's got to do something for you, like that can be spiritual, that can be emotional, that could be mental, that can be physical, that can be any which way. But the things that we do and the whatever it is that we're doing for ourselves, like what is it doing for you? What is it doing for you? Even the relationships we're in, like what is this relationship, friendship, anything, like what is this doing for you?
Yeah.
And not in a way that's like everything should be working for you and like the world revolves around you. No. But the decisions that we make should be supporting us having a good, happy, calm, safe life.
You'd like it to add something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why are you doing it? Why are you putting your energy into something that is, distracting from your own happiness? Like that makes you feel drained, or that makes you feel like you're not getting something in return, or makes you feel insecure. A relationship or a piece of clothing, if it makes you feel insecure, why are you spending time with it?
Yeah. And listen, we can't feel pleasure all the time, but I try to find the pleasure wherever possible, because the more we can find pleasure in all these different things, it's just better for our brains or our bodies and our pleasure, like all of those things. So
yeah, and a lot of like perspective. Interesting. Bring it back to the play, but also I came to this journey through tattoos, but then I realized it also through like spanking and certain things where it's like, if I change my relationship to pain and first of all, get away from the fear of pain, which often makes it so much worse. It's the fear of it and how much it's going to hurt or whatever that can make it so much worse.
Yeah.
And you just sort of embrace it and you're like, I can do it and I feel strong and I know I can handle it. And then pain is like another way to like get in touch with my body and like feel ownership over it and feel strength and feel like I can do this. I am tough. I am not just like, a victim or, I don't know. It makes me feel powerful. And it makes me feel like connected to my body in ways that, as women often, and I had to explain this to guys, like, you don't feel like you're in your body? I'm like, no. I like disassociate. I've been disconnected from it. It was my enemy. I hated it. There's things that happen to me where you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And I just felt disassociated from it. And it's been like an interesting way to get back into it.
A lot of people use kink to get back into their bodies, to reclaim power. And one of the most important things in that is that you, as the person receiving whatever sensations they are, you are the person who's actually in control. You are the person that's calling the shots. It may be another person who is doing the physical act of spanking, for example, but it's you who sets the boundaries. It's you who says, this is okay, that's not okay, this spot is okay, that spot is not okay.
And as I learned, somebody who knows what they're doing is constantly checking in, going, do you like that? How's that? Harder, softer? On a scale of 1 to 10, like I never got that. He's like, how hard is that for you on a scale of 1 to 10? And where do you want to take it?
Yeah.
And like communication. And that was the ironic thing where it's like, oh, we're dealing with pain, but I felt so safe because I know he was checking in on me. And I wasn't like sitting there going, oh, what's he feeling? What's going on? What's happening? Like it just lets you relax because you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why people with vulvas struggle with pleasure and with orgasm so much is because of that lack of safety. Besides everything else about not actually warming up the body and not having good technique and all of those other things, it's a lack of safety.
Because you have to mentally relax a little bit to be able to like literally like, you can't be like tensing your body in fear and then also release into an orgasm.
Yeah.
You can't be like worried about embarrassing yourself in front of someone and then also squirt, like
it's the release. Like you're never going to get to that release if you're not in a space that has your body is prepared, because if your body is not prepared, even if you mentally feel safe, your body is going to be in a response that says I am not safe, which means that, obviously we all vary it with lubrication, but your body is not going to be producing lubrication.
Well, I learned one thing that was actually kind of mind-blowing for me at the Museum of Sex. Have you ever been there?
I have. It's great. The one in New York, right?
No, the one in Las Vegas. Harry Money's.
I haven't been to that one yet.
Oh, I think it's actually the erotic Heritage Museum.
Yeah, it's the Erotic Heritage Museum.
Sorry. I've not been to the Museum of Sex in New York, but I meant to go. The Erotic Heritage Museum in Las Vegas. The one who runs it is a hoot. We did a show there, a comedy show.
Oh, yay.
Puppetry the Penis is there.
Yes.
Delightful boys. But they had like just something on like evolutionary history and sex.
Yeah.
And this was something I wish someone told me when I was younger, because I think is when we go through this too, where it's like, well, I was wet, so I guess I liked it.
No.
And it was like, the body will lubricate itself, the vagina will start lubricating itself if it feels like you might get raped or penetrated, because it'll prevent itself from tearing. It's literally a self-defense mechanism. And then later they're like, well, you were wet, so you must have liked it.
No, it's just a physical response. If you do X, Y, Z, then ABC will happen.
Yeah.
The same thing with an erection. Just because a person with a penis has an erection does not mean that that person wants to be having sex or engaging in any sort of sexual activity.
There's a lot of factors that go into it.
Exactly. It is just blood going to a certain area.
Yeah.
And part of that can be that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. There's so much more to it. So
I fawn too.
Being around, we do not talk enough about fawning. So let's just talk about fawning real quick here. So fawning is the response of doing pretty much whatever you have to do to get out of there. So that is saying, yes, no problem, we'll have sex, sure, it's fine. Yeah, that's cool. I'll suck your dick, like whatever. Exactly.
My mom even said, this was like an eye-opening moment after Me Too, where I was like, actually, we need to have a talk. She was an artist. She sold drugs. She was like a real woman about town, and a Scorpio. Like me. And I think that's that thing you get put into a thing too, where like, if you're a woman that's at all sexual and like sex, it's like that catch-22 with Pamela Anderson. Well, now that you've released naked pictures, it doesn't matter if other people do it without your consent, because you've lost all say. Like, oh, you like sex, so you must like all the sex.
Exactly.
And you can't ever say, no, I wasn't into that.
Yeah.
But she's like, oh, when you just have to have sex with a guy because he won't let you leave.
Literally, that's fawning. Literally,
you're like, okay, what do I need to do? Fawning. Just let me leave. Like, I now feel scared and trapped, and you won't let me leave. So whatever you want, like, I'll just be so nice. Please don't murder me.
The amount of sex that's happened just to get a person with a vulva out of that situation is extraordinary.
You have a moment, you're like, if I fight back, this could go even worse.
Yeah. Or I just want this to be done. So like, whatever, who cares? Let me just do this and be done with it.
Yeah.
That does not mean that you are consenting. It does not mean that you want to be doing it. It means that you're relenting. Yeah. And that is not
consent.
That's
that thing where it's like, well, why didn't you say no? It's like, because maybe I was scared to.
Yeah. Because you're a big scary person next to me. Or maybe I don't trust you. Or maybe I'm far away from home. Or maybe my brain didn't even allow me to think of that as an option. It's so much. It's so much. So yeah, fawning, it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn.
Yeah.
So pivot. Where'd you grow up?
Well,
hard pivot.
Cool. I mean, birth is from sex.
Yeah.
That's the thing I like to say too. We get all weird about kids. It's like, they all came from sex. And like, there's some test tube kids. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the rest of us, it was fucking.
But still from sexual organs and things that were created through sexual organs.
Right.
Sex.
So I was born in upstate New York. My parents are New Yorkers. So my dad's from the Bronx and my mom was from the Upper East Side, Long Island. So both kinds of Jews, both flavors. Also probably why they divorced. But I was born in upstate New York.
Where?
Technically, I was born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, which I'm still mad about being like a masshole on a technicality, because we lived in New York State right over the border.
Oh no.
In Hillsdale, New York, but it's so small. Like cows across from the school.
Yeah.
Like there was like K through 9th grade in one tiny schoolhouse that I drove by as an adult. I'm like, it seemed so big at the time, and now it's like so small.
Wow.
It was real country.
Yeah.
It was very Appalachia.
How old were you through that school?
So I was there until I was 7. So in 3rd grade, we moved to South Florida, to West Palm Beach.
Oh, big change.
My grandma moved. My mom followed her. She wanted to get a divorce. She wanted to be in the snow. So we moved down there. Then my dad came, and then they got separated and back together and had this whole toxic thing. Like, they've been divorced since I was 12, but then my dad still owned my mom's house when she died 2 years ago. They still are in like a
You get woven in sometimes, with
triangulation
people.
is real because I'm also an only child. She was an only child. My dad had one sister who had a nervous breakdown and became a minister.
Wow.
Who I talk to now. It was like not a lot of family. It was very, very isolated. So I also like didn't realize how weird a lot in my family life was until way later.
Yeah.
Because also then I was in South Florida, so like everything was fucked.
Fucking Florida, man.
Yeah. I say in stand up, but it's true. I'm like, I like that Euphoria came out because I'm like, I don't have to explain what going to high school in Florida was like. And like, I was the goody two shoes. I would go to the bathroom to do my drugs. I wasn't just snorting them in the back of class.
Yeah.
I was a real,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Just a good girl.
I don't like getting caught either. So
yeah. But I was also just raised that way. Like I did drugs with my mom. And it was like, on the one hand, it was like cool to have the cool mom who wouldn't judge me. And I felt like safe in that way that I could tell her whatever I was doing. But on the other hand, then I was like, oh, but she was on drugs. She'd be like, oh, well, if you're all here, I know where you are. You're not driving, whatever. And it's like, okay, that's, rational.
That's valid.
But then she was also doing the drugs. So like, if you're high too, who's going to handle the emergency, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So then I was in South Florida from when I was 7 until I was 21.
Oh, okay.
And then I moved to New York City. And I lived there for 10 years before LA.
Nice. So, okay, moving at 7, I'm going to guess, especially in a teeny tiny town, I'm going to guess you did not have any sex education at that point.
Oh, no. I did though, because my mom's like an artist. My dad was a hippie. He's like, not really anymore, but
he's a recovering hippie.
Yeah. I'm not even going to get into him. But I was given a book at some point that was like one of those like really loose 70s books about like your body and sex. And I remember I had seen like diagrams. So, like I knew a penis went in the vagina and stuff like that. And I think not when I was 7, but then like before 11 or 12, I think I'd found like some dad's pornos and things. So I had like seen more than my friends.
Yeah. Did you show those to friends? Like, was it anything that you ever had friends come over and you're like, hey?
In high school, my dad got like these, we still had like the cable boxes with little satellite dishes.
Yeah.
Or like the little direct TV or whatever it was. I don't even remember. But he had a friend that would like fix the card so you could get all the channels.
Oh, yeah.
So my friends would come over to watch all the porn channels.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
We did that too. We had like a little scrambler. That's what we had. It was like everyone growing up had the scrambler. So
I had
like,
the scrambled when I was young. Yeah. I had a TV in my room. So I could hear like the scrambled Playboy channel. And I remember I couldn't see it, but there was some show that was like kind of like a Dr. Drew thing, but it was like these 2 women and people would call in.
Yeah,
and I just remember them describing how to give a blowjob.
Yeah. I loved all those shows when I was little. I was low key listening to all that shit in the dark. I mean, no one is surprised now. But yeah, I would listen to and because we did have HBO in my house. So I would watch Real Sex when I was like 8 years old. And it'd be like, under the covers, everything is like really dark and really low. I would even like turn the brightness on my TV down really low so no one would hear me or see me. But I would just be like, this is so fascinating. All of it was so fascinating. And obviously I still find it so fascinating.
I mean, I think most of us do.
Yeah.
One of the most fascinating topics, I think. Everyone's got an opinion.
Everyone has an opinion, or their opinion is that they are so riddled with shame that they will not speak on it, even with themselves, which is a problem.
Yeah, repression. I mean, that usually leads to a strong opinion of like, it's bad. And that's a strong opinion. Yeah. You don't hate things you don't care about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's oftentimes rooted in religious fear and everything that you're taught there in purity culture, whether you actually are in, a Catholic Christian culture or, Jewish culture also. It's like be fruitful and multiply. I don't feel as much of the slut shaming in Judaism. I don't think I've seen that much. It's not the same, but like I feel like it's still there.
Jews are a little more sex positive, But there's a
But
lot
only
of
a
like,
little bit.
only if it's with other Jews.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's
Because
like,
there is like,
sure, you could suck a dick, but is it a Jewish dick?
I told someone this because
Is
a lot
it
of people don't
circumcised?
realize like there are different flavors of Jew. Just like there
All
are
the
different flavors
flavors.
of Christianity. Like
Yeah.
there's Methodist or Episcopalian or whatever. Like I can't keep track. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's the same thing with Jews. Like there's different kinds.
Yeah.
And the Hasids,
We don't really have different names as much. It's like Hasid. It's just like,
it's like
the
a
names are just the range.
From
It's just
like
on the
Reform,
spectrum.
traditional, Orthodox.
Yeah,
traditional Orthodox.
It's Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, Hasidic.
And then there's Zionist.
Oh, that's not Jewish.
And then there's
that's like
also
that's
like
their own.
Well, and then there's the Jews for Jesus. I forget what they.
None
call
of those
them.
things
There's
are
a lot of different.
None of those things are Jews. They are their own complete.
But that's
separate
like the same thing when you're like
things.
the Westboro Baptist Church versus an every ordinary like Catholic or Christian.
Yeah,
you don't want to think that it's the same thing, right? Like people don't realize the Hasidics are a trauma reaction to the Holocaust, and they're not like traditional Jews.
No,
they started in the 40s. They were a reaction to the Holocaust where they got super isolated because they just didn't trust anyone.
Yeah.
And the reason that they feel like they need to breed so much is that they have a credo where they think they need to replace the 6 million lost.
Yeah.
So they're fucking on trauma to like replace dead Jews.
Yeah.
So it's coming from a very weird place.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course it perpetuates more trauma on people. And that's
and
a
there's
whole
not
other
a whole
podcast.
lot of consent for women in there. And all that,
there's none.
Like,
there's absolutely none.
I don't know. I always feel like
you can't even get a divorce.
Educating
you literally
people,
have to have your husband to allow you to get a divorce.
You can't grow your hair.
You can't grow your hair,
you can't wear pants,
or you can't show it. Not outside of the home. Everything is about restriction.
Yeah,
but you got to be that baby making machine.
But then also, if you are a woman who lives in New York, you've had a Hasidic guy hit on you or try and pick you up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, yep. I got a lot of feelings about that because I grew up in a conservative home in New York.
I feel like I want to tell people because I'm a Jew, but like we're not the same, because people think we all believe the same thing and we all have the same, they hate us more than anything.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Because we're the bad Jews that are bringing us.
They will
down.
be like, you are not Jewish, and it's like, I mean, fine. We're literally looking at the same shit. It's just you do the extreme set of the rules and we're like, yeah, we don't need to do that. But it's the same exact set of rules.
Yes.
All of the rules are exactly the same. So that's, I think, one of the main differences between like all the different sects of Christianity is that like they have different beliefs. Jews have the same beliefs, but they're following different rules. Like it's like the extreme of the rules versus the leniency of the rules. But the belief is the through, like there's a through. I literally look at it as a spectrum of like, I feel like these are all the rules. In Christianity,
where it's like, at the core is like Jesus. We like him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets variations of like, well, how do we show that we like him? How do we show our faith or whatever?
See, it's not really like that with Judaism because with the highest, with the strictest levels of Judaism, there's like, this is every rule that's written in the Bible. And we're going to follow it to an exact T, exactly what it says. And as you get looser and looser, it's just about letting go of those exact rules versus different disciples. And we believe this version of the story and that it's the same fucking story. It's the same books. Everything's exactly the same. It's literally on a spectrum.
Yeah.
So
one thing I like that's built in a little bit is like, we're supposed to question things. We're supposed to talk about them. We're supposed to think about different interpretations.
Yeah. Critical thinking.
It's not like, just take my word for it.
Yeah.
So that helps us. I think that's probably why we became more and more reformed.
Yeah.
Because the more you talk about it, you're like, why are we still doing, why are we keeping kosher when that was before refrigerators?
Yeah. And also like milk and meat don't go together. I'm not getting belly aches now, so that's fine. They were getting belly aches and getting real sick back in the day.
Like not having pork was like, there was a lot of trichinosis going on. So like, don't eat that. Don't do it. Shellfish, you couldn't keep it cold. You couldn't tell if it was good or not. It was like stuff that would make people sick. So they're like, just don't eat it. So it made sense to have those rules at the time.
Even circumcision is because they wanted to identify themselves. Because they were constantly being taken over by all of these different, whoever was in charge at the time was like, fuck you guys, you got to believe in this bullshit because we're in charge and we say you believe whatever we believe. And so that was an indicator of you're a Jew. And we're always going to be able to see you and find you because you don't have your foreskin. That's a massive problem today.
Yeah.
Okay? It's genital mutilation. There's no way around that. It is, in fact, genital mutilation.
I do. I dated someone who was uncircumcised for years, and it wasn't a problem, except we would get into this debate because I am someone who's very sensitive to yeast infections, and he would not wash his fucking dick.
That's him
the
problem.
thing. Look, circumcision helps if you're dirty to not infect us, but like just wash your dick skin, please.
Sure.
Wash it before we have sex. Don't make the woman even ask about it, because that was the thing.
Yeah,
like,
that's disgusting.
After years, he'd come home from riding his bike or whatever, and then I would be like, hey, can you go? And he's like,
Wash
you're ruining the
dick.
mood. You're killing the mood. I'm like, the fact that you don't consider it before starting to fool around with me makes me feel unconsidered.
There's disgusting bacteria.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm going to get sick from this. I probably won't even come. You know, like, and then I'm going to get sick for 2 weeks and have to take antibiotics. You can not do circumcision, but please wash your dick.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're an adult and you want to get a circumcision, that's fine. That's your prerogative as you taking ownership and autonomy over your own body.
Yeah.
I have a problem with us doing that to babies.
Yeah.
And that's like a big reason why I really never wanted to have kids, because I was like, if I have a boy, that's going to be really hard. Even though I do not believe in religion, it's still a very tough thing, I think, for a Jew to make that decision to be like, I'm not going to circumcise my kid because it's genital mutilation. And I'm going to keep fucking saying that because it is. There's no real reason to do it. All you got to do is pull the skin back and wash it, just like you pull anything else.
It's just wild, like that. It's such a hassle. Like and even now,
it's not a hassle.
In my 30s, I have to tell guys, like, they'll start fooling around. I'm like, go wash your hands before you stick them inside of me. Like, one guy, I was like, we were just eating pizza with jalapenos on it.
Go wash your hands. Yeah.
If you wouldn't stick it in your mouth, don't stick it in me. And
no, but
actually, if you would stick it in your mouth, you're gross. Yeah.
But like, seriously, wash your hands before you put it into a vulva or up a vagina, because
if you wouldn't put in contacts with it, if you wouldn't touch a baby with it.
I mean, but people are gross. So like, don't even ask that question. It's just like, if you're going to touch a vulva, which is very sensitive and very prone to picking up on bacteria, wash your fucking hands. And this goes for women too.
Yeah.
These bitches ain't washing hands and they got nails. Like, come on, girls. Like, come on, people.
And file your nails.
And non-binary too. No one's free. Everyone wash your hands. Just wash your fucking hands. It's
like,
disgusting.
Even after COVID, like, just wash your hands.
Should we name this episode just wash your hands?
Just wash your hands. Just wash your dick. Just wash it. Just jump in a shower.
Just wash it.
Just wash it.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. So anyway, fucking hygiene. There was someone that I knew. Somebody recently told me a story of like one of their like childhood best friends or something. He had to get a teenage circumcision because he could not and would not keep his dick clean, to the point that it got so infected repeatedly for his whole life up until he became a teenager. And the doctor was like, we literally have no choice. You got to get rid of this. And it wasn't because it was so infected. It wasn't even just because like,
that's you're not for him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's disgusting. So, but you know, I lived in New Zealand. I've had plenty of men that do not have circumcision, that have their foreskin and all of that. It's not a problem. There was like one dude that was like kind of dirty and I was like, you're gross, wash your dick. But outside of that, it was like,
I mean, look,
not a problem.
I've seen some circumcised dicks that I'm questioning how clean they were too.
They dirty too.
Yeah.
Just, be a little hygienic when you're with other people in sexual entanglements.
Just do it. I always rinse my puss off when I'm going on a date.
Just wash the puss.
Just give her a little rinse too, ladies. You should do it.
Yeah. We should be taking care of each other in that way.
Yeah.
Again, safety, security.
I mean, I had a guy tell me he was really turned off from eating pussy for a long time because he didn't realize just that his first girlfriend had really bad hygiene. Oh. I had a similar experience. The first girl I ever went down on, I think she did like too many drugs. It tasted just like acidic.
Yeah.
And when someone, you can smell it in someone's sweat too when somebody's just not healtly. Like what's coming out of their body is like not healthy.
And it's so unattractive. Like in any way, whatever it is, like that smell of like it's just gross. Like we got to take care of our bodies, people.
Yeah. And and I just thought I didn't like pussy for a long time.
You want to fuck good? Wash up.
Exactly. It's going to help.
Put good things in your body. Wash up. All of that.
The easiest thing you can do to make sure that your sex is better and your partner's going to enjoy it more, be clean.
That's one of the things, for sure.
It's very easy and attainable for everyone.
Yeah. It's very accessible. Well, not for everyone, because that's a whole other conversation. We can go into so many conversations.
Yeah, Let's not forget.
Yeah, 2 ADHD girls were like, wait, but this conversation here and this one here and this one here. So let me bring it back to sex education and
Cool.
ask you, what do you remember from your formative sex education when you finally got into class? You would have been in Florida.
Yep.
Do you remember getting sex education, and who was present?
It was definitely like the wrestling coach dude.
Oh my God.
Definitely like this bald guy. And he wasn't like necessarily bad. Like for a guy whose job was to teach phys ed and was stuck obviously with a health class, he was fine, but it was just like mostly fear mongering. I remember all of the horrific slides of STDs.
Yeah.
It was very, it's Florida, probably abstinence based.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was that one day where they split up the girls and the boys, and then we had a woman like talk to us about menstruation and stuff. I feel like they also talked to us about eating disorders. I don't know if that was the same class.
Probably would have been in the health class though.
Yeah.
At some point.
And I feel like it was just for girls.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Which is weird because they showed us a video that I was like, oh, that's how you do it. It
Yeah.
felt like an educational video.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just remember this detail. The woman's like, okay, she was pregnant. She's like, I eat a big meal and then I eat the carrots last, and then I'll eat the other shit, and I throw up, and when I see the carrots, I stop. That way I know the baby still has food. It was so sad and fucked up.
Because as if that's the way that it works.
Right. It doesn't work like
does
that
not work
at
that
all.
way.
But like, you're only getting this as like a scare thing. And then you're like, but I guess, is that true? Like, I don't know. Like, you weren't told any actual facts. They just like show you a movie and don't talk about it and hope you get the right message from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was wild. And I think it was that way too. Like, they showed us something about like your period, but it wasn't very informative. Like, there's still things I'm learning. And it's like, why was I not told any of this? Just like about my body, about other people's bodies. Oh man, yeah, all the stuff that like I believed even way too old, where it's like you can get pregnant from pre-cum, and like just from touching something.
There is a little bit of truth to that. You can. Like, it's less likely, but it's basically cleaning out the pipes, and there could be a little bit of sperm in there.
Yes. This was like if it even just like touches you. Yeah. Like if you're in a hot tub with somebody.
Oh my
God. Or like, I thought, and it's wild because I'm like 38 now and I've never had a pregnancy scare, which is wild.
Yeah.
I was so neurotic about it. I was on birth control since I was 15 because I had really heavy periods. And then I only went off it in my 30s. There was only one time, like, I remember my period was late and I was literally walking home from the store after buying the test and got my period on the walk. And I was like, so glad I wasted that money.
Thank you.
I
a lot less money than a kid.
Pill. Like, I thought it was so easy to get pregnant. Like, when I was on the week off from my pill pack, I would, if I had sex with someone without a condom and they didn't even come inside me, no one's ever come inside me, which is another thing.
That's why you've not gotten pregnant.
Wow. But
no, literally, that's why you've not gotten pregnant.
But I thought even the pre-cum, we had sex without a condom, and I was on the week off of my pack, so I would take the morning after pill while on birth control. Yeah, fucked myself up. Not an enjoyable experience. But I was so terrified of the responsibility of like, I totally believe in abortion, and people can do whatever they want. I knew that I would have a hard time, so I just didn't ever want to have to make that decision.
Yeah.
So I just like didn't. I was like overly careful.
Yeah.
And now I'm like 38. I'm like, can I even get pregnant? I don't know. It's like, I haven't ever tried. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always thought it would be so easy.
I mean, it is if people are coming in you. It is. I mean, listen, there's only a certain amount. Yeah. You never know unless you have been trying and you can't, or like, you've been completely
now I have all these friends who are going through IVF and all this stuff. And it's like, what if I don't even know? I have no idea. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get tested. So you can find out what your egg count is. It is expensive, but they also have, I have to look it up for you because they do have, I think, some lower cost options that are like take home tests that you can kind of get a general count for it. I have to look up where it is, but I'll look it up for you and I'll find it and then I'll put it in the show notes if I find it.
Yeah. I got to educate myself about myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's, but I think even the fact that they don't really teach us how many days in a month you can actually get pregnant.
I didn't know about ovulation until I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. Like, I thought, even if I had sex on my period, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Which is, and it is always a maybe. There's always a maybe.
Listen, sperm can live in your body for 5 days.
I feel like it was also like, okay, you're 17. You're probably like super, super fertile. But like now.
But still, it can only live in your body for 5 days. And if those 5 days don't fall within your ovulation, like the day that you ovulate, you're not going to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So, it's, but you have to know your cycle and you have to understand all those things.
I never did because I was put on, and I did have like really, really intense periods. They were so painful. I would bleed like a shit ton for like 7 days.
Ugh.
It was like,
that's terrible.
Yeah, I was probably anemic. It was intense. There's probably a lot going on with my diet and stress and a lot of other things that we could have looked at.
Yeah.
But
we never do.
But we didn't. We just put me on the
teenagers
pill.
on pills. Same thing happened to me. I mean, it was different circumstances, but like 16 on it.
Yeah. Well, and then my mom's like, just in case anyway. But she always was like, it was really cool that there was like not a lot of shame from her. And she was very accepting of whatever. But there also wasn't a lot of like motherly direction or discernment or like talk about safety or anything like that. It was, she would just like girl talk me or whatever. Like when I was older, I was like, I was 16. I had all these like older guys, like in their 20s.
Oof.
Coming because I was an old soul, aka trauma.
And they were predatorial.
Right. And I thought they saw how mature I was and they just saw how manipulative.
Young and cute.
Yeah, easily manipulated I was. And I was like, you never told me like that these guys might be using me or that I shouldn't sleep with them right away if I'm trying to like have a relationship and get to know them, necessarily. I also think that's bullshit.
Yeah,
like how guys do that. You should be able to sleep with you because
you can.
I also hate when I've spent weeks now getting to know someone, then we sleep together and it's bad.
And it's terrible. Yeah.
Our pieces literally don't work together. Yeah. And now why can't we just know that earlier and then you'd still look at me the same?
Yeah, exactly.
And treat me like a human fucking being.
The right people will.
Right. But we didn't talk about this at all.
No.
And my mom's response was like, well, I thought your friends would tell you that. I was like, you thought other 16-year-old girls would give me all this life advice about dating? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also really wild that we expect parents to have these high level conversations that are age appropriate with kids about a topic that they themselves are not scholars on. They didn't study. They don't know factual information. They don't have resources. And yet parents are suddenly supposed to be experts in sexuality. What? Because they fucked and made a kid.
And it's also, you don't want to have that conversation with your parent because you don't feel free enough to ask all the questions you have without them going, why are you doing this? Are you doing that?
What are you doing? Yeah. Nor can they receive those questions without thinking, oh my God, what are they doing? This is my baby.
It should definitely be from someone who's not your parent. So you don't have to feel worried about them judging you or whatever. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's time for a pop quiz.
Oh, okay. I didn't know I was going to get quizzed.
Yeah.
That's okay, the nerd means like I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So, what is the length of a vagina?
I assume it would vary, right?
Yes. Very good. Yeah. So you already get points for that. What is the unaroused and what is the aroused?
Ooh. I mean, do they vary like just even
within one person's body? So I'm going to give you a range for like the unaroused and a range.
How many inches does it change?
Yeah.
Basically?
Yeah.
Okay. Unaroused. I don't know the range, but like maybe, I don't know, 3 to 4 inches
for the unaroused.
For unaroused.
Okay.
And then I assume it would grow to maybe, I don't know. I mean, they can fit a lot in there. So it's got to go. Then it depends on the person.
Yeah.
I know I'm a taller person. I've talked to friends of mine who we might have slept with the same person and had a different experience with the size.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know, up to 12 inches, possibly.
Yeah.
So it's probably got a lot of range. She's flexible.
So it does. She is flexible. That's what she's here for. So unaroused, the average is between 2 and 4 inches. So you did very well there. And aroused, it's about 4 to 8 inches.
4 to 8?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the expansion can be like about 4 or 5
doubling
inches.
In size.
Yeah, I would say about 3 to 5 inches is generally how much it expands when properly aroused. And also, so basically your cervix lifts. So when a person with a vulva is aroused, the cervix is going to lift, which is going to lengthen the vagina. And then the vaginal opening is basically like an envelope. So it's going to start closed off in an envelope. So it's not like an asshole where it's like the sphincter is really small and then, like you can, open it up like a drawstring or something like that. It's like an envelope that will open and expand. in order to allow something in. So that's why when you were playing with a vagina or with a person with a vulva and you're like really trying to stuff it in that vagina, it's not open yet. It's not ready. A vagina will always invite something in when it's ready.
Yeah.
So we got to stop trying to rush
you're
the
forcing
process.
it in,
it's not a good time.
It's not the time.
And listen, people with vulvas, I've done that myself where I've been like, well, let's just figure it out. It'll open once we're in there.
Too.
We all do it, and we need to get out of that habit.
Well, it actually can slow down the process.
Yeah.
Because once you force it a little, I feel like if you get a tear, then it starts being uncomfortable. Then you don't want to keep having sex, or like then you're uncomfortable and it pulls you out of like being in the pleasure zone, and it can take longer to get there.
Because it's going to be in a trauma response. It's going to be closing off, because if there's some trauma going on, your vagina is it's going to shrink back and it's going to close off. That envelope will close. Yeah. So it's built to invite things in.
And I say this as I know this is a unicorn, as a girl that mostly comes from penetration, which I know, like, I have someone told me once I have a very tiny clit. Oh my God, she's so small and dainty.
But when it is closer to the
more
opening,
internal. I feel like the legs, like the G spot, which, you know, there's debates about whether it's its own thing or it is just part of the clit. Like, I think she's more internal. Like, that's where I get off, but it still needs to be done at the right time. You still can't just go in there. Because I had guys learn that about me, but then they like try and just get right in there.
Yeah,
because they know that's what I like. But it's like, she needs a minute.
But here's the thing: the legs. So the G spot is for the majority of people, it's a ridge area, but not always ridged. But basically,
like spongy.
Yeah, it's the urethral sponge is really what we need to be calling it, because the G spot is named after a man, and fuck that.
Oh yeah.
So the urethral sponge, basically the the podcast can't see it.
Your puppet.
Yeah. Well, no, I was going to get my little clitoris that's over there. Not this one. So basically what's happening is that the legs surround and the glands surround the vaginal opening. And what sits on top is basically the shaft, similar to the shaft of the penis.
That's like what would have
it's
been
homogeneous.
The penis head.
Exactly. The penis head is actually the head of a clitoris. Same thing. Homogeneous.
That's why they like under the
shaft.
perineum.
Yeah. Shaft, same thing as a shaft. So what's really happening is that because the blood has engorged the clitoris itself, people with a clitoris get a hard-on. It's engorged. It's big. It expands. Then you have the vaginal opening that has also expanded. And now you have this stuff that when it's relaxed, you don't feel anything, fine. Now you have, it's like blowing up a balloon in like a 1-bedroom apartment. You know what I mean? Like now you have like a bounce house in an apartment. So everything is basically scrunched up against itself. And then you put something like a penis, a finger, a toy, or something like that. And now it's playing with all of those parts of the clitoris. And if your clitoris is close to your vaginal opening, then what's also happening is that you're feeling part of the pull of the insertion. And you are actually, it is still that external stimulation that's doing it. So there's a lot of things that are going on. And then, and then for some people also, the cervix can have a lot of pleasure. So there's a lot of different things going on. So
it almost feels like it's just like, you know, if it's like, because people can have longer or shorter clitorises too.
Yeah,
so it's like if it's longer and more out, I feel like mine's just more in. And then if you can hit it from the backside, that's where I feel it more.
Exactly. We're all built differently, and we're all beautiful.
Differently. That's the thing, guys. Just ask what she likes.
Yeah.
Don't do what your ex-girlfriend liked and assume it's going to work again.
Yeah. And be mindful also that can be a very scary question for people, because oftentimes no one does ask that question, and therefore they don't know how to answer it. So
I've been going through this in therapy that I don't know what I like.
Yeah.
Because I was told what I should like, what I, should want by society, by, porn, my parents or boyfriends or whatever. Porn is very like, what a woman should like is like just to give pleasure to a guy. And it's like, I never got to discover what I like without someone else's opinion shifting how I'm feeling about it. Cause like, oh, I just want to make you happy. True. But what do I like outside of how it makes you feel?
Yeah.
What do I like just in my body?
Yeah.
Like still a journey, still figuring it out.
100%. 100%. We have come to the end of this podcast. We've come to the end. Is there anything else that when you were thinking about this that you wanted to share that we have not touched upon yet?
Just so many puns, Arielle.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm real good at that.
What have we not touched upon? Well, what we said before, I'll circle back to the beginning actually, because I don't think we discussed it, what a play party is versus outside where, when I'll talk to friends, I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, a sex party, I guess is what you'd call it.
Yeah.
But the reason it's a play party is because, and we do a mixed thing. So there's swingers and then there's BDSM. And in BDSM, you can just play. You can do spanking. You can do, there's so many toys and accoutrement, getting rope, tied up. We tend to not do edge play at the party with breath play or whatever. And people don't realize these are all ways to get pleasure, sensual, feelings in your body, intimacy. It's like getting a massage, like you're doing things that feel good in your body. And you don't have to just have penetrative sex. Like a lot of people don't. That's why it's not just a sex party, because people are like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. It's like, you don't have to do anything. You also can just come and talk to people and have a fun time at a party. Maybe you just like to watch.
A lot of
There's
people
performers.
do.
Like maybe you just want to see it. Maybe you just want to have a fun time. Maybe you like wearing a fun outfit. You don't have to do anything. But I like thinking about it as centered around play. Yeah. Because I know we do comedy too. And it's like, that's a thing.
Sex is play.
And more humans need to do that. Like how animals play, we need
kids
to play.
Yeah.
And
Sex
sometimes when we think of sex as just pressure. So I think sometimes taking just the sex out, and you don't have to worry about, condoms or monogamy or all of these things that can get very, heavy, or you might have trauma around it or whatever. You can find different activities that have intimacy with other people and connect to your body. And it's just play. It doesn't have to be one thing or the other.
Yeah. We support play and sensation and exploring different types of feelings.
Yes.
All of them. Where can people find you?
Well.
I love the sinister laugh there.
No, but seriously, don't actually find me in real life.
On the internet.
On the internet. I am at Sam Sweets on Instagram and Twitter, and I think TikTok. I never use it though. I'm also at Comedy Go-Go Show. If you want to see Comedy Go-Go, which is every fourth Friday at El Cid on the patio in Silver Lake in Los Angeles. It's a super fun show with comedians and drag queens and go-go dancers and cheerleading outfits and all kinds of fun stuff. And where else am I? On OnlyFans, I am Only Sams with 2 E's.
I love that.
ONLEE.
And are you still doing your $6.99 or something like that?
I'm still $6.9 because I just thought it was the funniest price.
It is hilarious.
But I need to raise my prices because I'm not.
You do need to raise your prices, but also that's funny.
I'm really bad. People order custom videos and then I just am bad at scheduling around it. I mean, this is the reason I don't make more comedy content too. I'm not good at filming myself, not good at editing myself, not good at scheduling my freelance life.
It's a lot of work.
But I'm still doing it. And sometimes I have fun.
Yeah.
I got to have more fun with it, I think is what I'm doing. Yeah.
Love that. Because again, play.
I like doing I don't know if you know this. You guys can all have fun with this right now. The Instagram filters go all the way down.
Yeah.
There's the Avatar one and the Hulk one and the tattoos.
Oh my God.
They go all the way.
Yeah.
So just know that.
That's great.
Have fun.
We love that.
You can post it, but you can save it and post it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you enjoyed this podcast, go ahead and like and subscribe. Send it to a friend. Repost some shit. Leave me a 5-star raving review. And if you have a question that you would like me to ask a guest, go ahead and leave that question. A sex ed question, pop quiz question. And if it's one that I can ask, then I will, and I'll give you a shout out. I think I did all the things, so thank you so much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. This was great.
Yay! Goodbye!
Bye.